red flags?
Like, I'll play chess, but if you're trying to play like verbal games with me,
Goodbye.
bye-bye. Ask guys out more.
As you can't force chemistry and you can't force compatibility. It's a two-way street.
Let it go. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Hey guys, and welcome back. Today I have a special guest, Kat De Rosario.
Hello.
Hello, and if you're new here, my name is Kat as well. And today we're going to be going over a super juicy topic. We're starting a new mini-series where on my Instagram I get people to respond to a hot question of the week, and then I'll be sharing their responses. So this week the question is, what is one relationship advice you would give to your younger self? We got a lot of responses here, but we noticed some very evident themes. So we're going to go by themes, and we're also going to be sharing a little bit of our opinions and experiences. With that being said, let's hop right in. Transition. Okay, I think first off, if you're comfortable, Kat, do you want to share just a little bit about, you and your thoughts on like relationships in general? We'll just get the ball rolling.
Hello, okay. Cats, YouTubers. Yeah, well, I love. If you go into my Myers-Briggs, I have like the F, which is not the F word, but the feelings. I love emotions. I love to just like appreciate other people. And I feel like the feeling of love, whether it's family, friends, relationships, is just such a sentimental connection between human to human. And then relationship wise, it's definitely that next level of a friendship with a significant other that I love to unfold, love to develop, and have gotten to learn about it, especially like in the last couple of years of my life, and definitely learning about like communication and just the types of personalities outside of looks, because we kind of had that in elementary school.
Yes, thanks for sharing.
Yeah. How about you, Kat? How about your experience with relationships in general?
I'm also a very feely type of person, and so I've always just prioritized relationships, whether it's with friends. And so yeah, more recently in the past couple years since university, I've just been trying to, dive into this dating scene and understand, not only like get to know other people, but really to learn about myself and what my needs are in the process. And yeah, so this is a really exciting topic to kind of dive into. And I think especially in people's 20s, this is a time where people are experimenting and are dating different people. Gonna dive into some of the advice that people have that they've learned over the years. And so our responses come from people from early 20s and also people in their late 20s. So the first category that we're gonna explore is just the evaluation process when you're first getting to know someone. So you might not even actually be in a relationship yet, but these are some things that people think are really important. Okay, you want to read the first one?
Sure. So the first one is, don't date someone for their cute doge.
I don't know, I find that pretty tough. I would totally date someone for a cute dog.
Definitely have to critique, the size of the dog, the type of dog, and then it's like, I'll date you then. Yeah. If you have a Shih Tzu. No, I'm just kidding. I think that's important. Don't date someone for the things that they have. It's just important to look at the person for who they are.
Yeah, like I think the most important thing is, do they have a personality that you can click with? Because, one day someone can be rich and another day they can lose everything. So if you tie your whole relationship based off of material things, then, it's not gonna last. Yeah, building a strong foundation is a really important one. The second advice, date someone outside of your small circle. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of, especially the university students or post-grad, when you're in the same city that you grew up in, you just date kind of the same people that you've always kind of stick around in terms of similar personality types, similar types of people. But when you go into other kind of samples from populations, for example, like seeing people on your exchange or in another country, you just get a larger expansion of like, oh, this is another type of personality, this is other cultures that you can learn from. And for me, like in a relationship, I love learning about other people, so that's a value that I drive myself in. But yeah, I would say don't just stick to that one sample size, because at the end of the day, you don't learn as much, but it's also good to center yourself there too, as well. So the next one is be less analytical and overcritical. Just focus on finding honest connection and chemistry with people that you like and trust. I definitely agree with this. It's so important that whenever you're finding yourself in a relationship, to know that a relationship will develop, and you don't know how the person really is right from that initial test. It's almost like taking your L on a driver's test. Like, you think, just because I passed that test doesn't mean like I fully know the road. Like, you actually have to like harness the road to learn more about like the city, for example, if you're driving. So that's exactly like a person. Like, you can't just think overcritically at the start of the relationship or when you're evaluating the other person.
The next one's pretty self-explanatory. Get to know them as friends first. I've definitely jumped into things before way too fast. Like, when you start out as friends, you already have an expectation of like what they're like. So it's not really a surprise anymore once you're dating them.
Definitely important to be friends first. Yeah. When you see a person as a friend first, you discover so much more about them. Whereas when people get into a relationship right away, there seems to be this, facade build up. You have to play this specific boyfriend role or girlfriend role, or girlfriend to girlfriend, boyfriend to boyfriend role, where there's these masks that you have to put on. And when you're friends first, you're like, okay, I can just fully unfilter myself. And I think that's the best part of learning about each other. So again, like you said, no rush. That's like the biggest piece.
Actually, that brought up a really good point. Don't you think like when you're with friends and you're assessing friends, you're more objective? Like, oh, this is something I like that they do, or this is something that, kind of annoys me. But then like if you're just infatuated by a person based off of their looks or initial chemistry, you will start to cloud your own judgment and think, oh, it's kind of small deal what they do. But normally if I saw my friend do it, it's like I'm annoyed.
Yep.
So you build up this whole idea of another person, and you almost rely on confirmation bias to kind of live on this happy dream that you put yourself in.
Welcome to Disney. All right, next one. Who they hang out with, for example, friends, family, says a lot about them. I agree in a sense. Hanging out with the same friends since like high school or elementary school could be one, like the sense of loyalty. But there's also that con where, it's the same people all of your life and haven't gotten to expand your friendships. And when you expand friendships, that's when you learn a lot, you grow a ton, and you're also willing to learn about other people. So again, it really depends on that person's situation that you're trying to analyze or understand. But in terms of family, for me, if that person's really into family, I love that. It's a value that I grow deep in, because you're getting a sense of like your family's culture, you're having conversations. And for me, like I would love to like have a mother-in-law that I am close with or in touch with. So
to add on to that, sometimes like people, they have so many friends too. It's just like, I think it is really important to look at who they spend a majority of their free time with, because I feel like who we are has a lot to do with the people we surround ourselves with. So.
There's so many.
We're still in the first category, but the next two are pretty similar. It's just like trusting your intuition about a person. Like if you feel like there's red flags right off the bat, then you should just trust it. Don't let other people's potential opinion on the person and on you influence your choice of dating someone. I think it depends. Like if your friends are saying, man, this girl has red flags, I feel like they can sometimes give you a good objective point of view, but your friends are like, she's not hot enough. Like something silly and like superficial, then don't let that influence you. But if it's like deeper than that, like, you guys are fundamentally different people and we see it, then I say trust your friends. But it also depends on like your relationship with your friends. Also, how well the friend actually knows that person. Yeah. Sometimes they get into assumptions based off one thing that you've told the person if they don't know them well. So I would say, like, are they best friends? Are they close friends, coworkers, colleagues? And if they're strangers and it's just based off what you've been telling them from your point of view, then it can definitely be biased. Another advice, always think about the role you want the person to play in your life. For example, is this guy boyfriend material or is he best friend material? Definitely a good one. It's tough to judge. Or brother material.
All right. Yeah, I think this is a huge one for the ladies. Ask guys out more. We're in a space where we don't have to wait for the guy to ask us out. I think that's the most important part. Go for it. The stereotypes where guys need to start a conversation, guys need to ask out the girl for a first date. That's so 1990, 2000s, back in the day, back in the jungles. Be yourself. I think for myself, most times I've been afraid because I had to wait. But now I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter about gender no more.
And I think there's just by waiting on the guy to initiate kind of gives them that power position too. And we can choose what we want and see whether the other person vibes with us right away. We don't have to stay and wait and start overthinking. And I think speaking on behalf of some of my guy friends, they appreciate when they take initiative and are direct about what they want. Especially now, I don't know, do you like playing games in a relationship, or you just like to be direct, hey, I like you, let's see if this works out, as opposed to I'll flirt with you and make you guess.
I'll play chess, but if you're trying to play verbal games with me,
goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Another very important advice. One piece of advice would be to never be afraid of shooting your shot if you think it's worth it to pursue. Instead of questioning what if, it would be better to know. Okay, and if they say no, then move on. Sometimes things just don't click. Don't be upset if the other person just doesn't feel the same way as you, because you can't force chemistry and you can't force compatibility. Even if you've built up this whole idea that the other person is right for you, it's a two-way street. And so, yeah, if the other person just doesn't feel it, let it go, move on.
Let it go.
I think really that's it for evaluation. Oh, there's one more. Invest your time and date people that you actually want to get to know.
And I think it's also evaluating your own evaluation. What is it that you actually want? Is it based off society, or is it based off what you want?
Good question. I can't even answer that either. Yeah, how do you evaluate someone when you also cannot evaluate yourself? Are you happy with who you are? Do you feel like you're the best version of a person that you can be for someone else? So I think that kind of segues into the next part. Moving on to the next theme. Lots of people are emphasizing the importance of communication. I'm sure you've definitely heard that before, but let's dive into the specific advice in communication. So,
number 1, if there is no communication, there's no relationship. If it's all oh, I think he's saying this, maybe I shouldn't say anything, and then each day it's kind of questions in your mind that play out, I don't think that's a relationship. That's more of a conversation with yourself. If it's just physical too, then that's not a relationship.
Advice number 2, it's important that when you're arguing, you guys work as a team to resolve the issue rather than arguing for the sake of arguing.
Pretty self-explanatory.
If you think you need to be a winner, then no one's won.
No one will win.
No one will win.
The best way to even learn how to create a fight in the first place is go into it with a bird's eye point of view. Here's both parties, look at it in terms of here's your problem, what's their problem, and most likely the fight is just a battle of miscommunication. At the end of the day, again, it's not a battle, it's a place to team up and work on the problem together.
I think it's also more than just saying how you feel. It's also the way you deliver it. What are your thoughts on people raising their voices and yelling and stuff like that when they're arguing? Do you think you can argue in a domesticated way?
Yeah, there's always the right time to have a fight or an argument between the both of you, and a lot of times when you're raising your voice is probably because you're not in the right state of mind to have the argument. And that just comes with a lot of self-awareness. If your partner is going in saying, hey, I need to talk right now, there's a fight, if you know you're not in the right state of mind, it's raising that self-awareness. So I think that's another piece too.
I think another big thing is know what you're arguing about. Sometimes you might be upset about a thing or an action, but then if you're not in the right headspace, you might attack their character. And that is so painful and so much harder to work through after. And maybe there's underlying pains if you're coming at their character. So I think also just being mindful, not only it's what you say, it's also how you say it.
All right, what we got here? Listen to actually hear what the person is saying rather than listen to respond to what they're saying. Definitely to reiterate that, sometimes, like, for example, if Kat's gonna talk, I'm listening because, like, oh, like, this is, like, what she's saying is, I want to hear what she's saying. I want to understand, and just to, like, pause and reflect. Like, this was me, like, in high school or, like, beginning of university. I'm like, I think it just comes from, like, my school classes is very much, okay, participation marks, like, what do I need to say? And I just totally forgot what the professor had said. And this is exactly in relationships. If you're not actually, like, inhaling and breathing in what that person is saying, even the conversation isn't going to go anywhere.
It's almost like you're just going through the motions, right? Like, you're just there, but you're not actually there deep inside. Arguably worse, you're just pretending. Oh, here's a really good one. Avoiding tough conversations only leads to bigger problems down the road. Embrace conflict and view it as an opportunity to grow together. That's a tough one.
And it comes with trust. It comes with trusting that person, that this tough conversation is not to hurt anyone, but it's to build a stronger relationship. So it's really important to manifest that optimistic approach when it comes to these arguments, because if not, you're never going to have tough conversations, because in your mind you're going to think, okay, I shouldn't have this conversation because I think a relationship is just about the good, and if I play out some bad in the relationship, then it's not going to go well. No. It's even approaching it as bad versus a good argument, so that it can strengthen that relationship. So it's also the way you frame what a tough conversation is going to be like, because if you just think of it as evil, difficult, then it's never going to go into a stronger and developed relationship.
Yeah, I think just because you don't fight doesn't mean you're in a good relationship.
True.
Yeah. Also, you have to ask yourself then, like, why are you so afraid to have these difficult conversations? You break up when you're not compatible with someone. And so, like, the longer that you avoid a conflict, which could be very fundamental, the longer you kind of postpone that decision or realization that maybe you aren't, like, compatible with the person. Like, I'm just empathizing people that are also experiencing, like, a fear of facing conflict. Yeah, maybe you're afraid of breaking up. But I want to encourage you to see that dating is like an evaluation process, and that you're essentially just dating people to see whether you are compatible with them. And if you see it, and if you realize you're not, then it's totally okay to, like, move on and to find someone else.
Preach it, sister. Final one here for communication is to pick your battles and always be respectful to each other. I'm not sure about the pick your battles part. I feel like battles are sometimes that you can't just choose them. I'm assuming battles is fight in their assumption. For me, you can't just only choose the fights that you want. I think that's really important. So I'm gonna devil's advocate that.
Yeah.
And say that sometimes your partner has needs that maybe you don't realize, and you have to go into arguments that you might not be comfortable in, and that's gonna be fine, because if you truly appreciate the person you're with, you'll be in those uncomfortable fights. So that's my say on that first part. Be respectful to each other, 100%. If you're not respectful, or that partner is not respectful to you in any way, whether physical, emotional, even spiritual, like if you have a faith or a belief in something and they're against that and they verbalize that all the time, hop out. Respect is, like, key. Like, respect, trust, communication. If you don't have, like, one of those on an ongoing basis,
it's gonna fall apart. Oh, also, like, holding on to old fights and bringing them into, like, your current ones, that's a no-go.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, pick your fights, but don't pick your past fights into current fights.
Okay. I think that's basically sums it up for communication. Yeah. Okay, so the third theme that we're gonna go into. Actually, these are just things that you should hear. I didn't know how to bucket it, so we're just gonna go through them one by one. Okay, the first one is the relationships that don't work out make you appreciate the good ones even more. And then a side note, know your worth.
Your past relationships makes you kind of audit the relationship, because, you know, I got a big four on here. But it also makes you audit your past relationships and gives you the question of, what did I like in that relationship? What did I not? And how can you progress further from that? It's, again, reframing that relationship from, I hated this relationship, I don't want to go back to it at all, but more so going, hey, yes, the relationship wasn't the way I expected it to go, but I learned so much from it. Here's all these little experiences, and how can I flesh them out further into future relationships?
Well said, well said.
All right, next one is, Every experience is valuable, whether it seems positive or negative in the moment. Try to take something away from them.
So what you said earlier.
Kind of what I said about not just
you're preaching facts here.
Not just about past relationships, but every single relationship that you're in, whether friendship, family, everything.
Mm-hmm. The next one is a big one. It's make sure to keep your sense of individuality in long-term relationships. This is important, especially for girls who may feel like they have to change their personality or interests for their partner when they're younger. Yeah. It's essential that you still maintain your individual life, whether it's through work, your own friend groups, but also being able to like share that with the other person, but you don't have to like become one. You're still two individuals that are just complementing and supporting each other.
Yeah, I 100% invest in that. And the biggest part, I feel like sometimes as like the women in the relationship, just speaking off of my heterosexual experience, is that because I'm dating a guy, I have to like go into his activities. And sometimes it's like I have to like perform for the other person. And that's kind of like how I always was like growing up, because I felt like no matter what kind of relationship I was in, I had to always take in their activities, take in their interests. But now it's like I care about myself too. Like it's not about I'm the female, but it's about like I'm also human and I have my interests and my activities. It's a matter of supporting the other person for their interests and activities, but you don't have to always start enjoying everything that they do, because at the end of the day, two partners are always different.
And I must say, like, if the other person, like, you want to share your interests with them and see if they might like it, if they shut it down and say, oh, nah, stupid, and then kind of talk down in it, I think that's a red flag too, because they're not respecting what you cherish. And that could make you feel like, oh, well, maybe I need to mold into the person that they want me to be. Okay, so we had so many responses, so we had to cut this into 2 parts. So thanks for listening, and we'll chat in another video.
Bye.